Have you ever had a moment where you thought you were completely alone, only to find out later that you weren't? I had just moved into my first apartment, a small, older unit in a quiet neighborhood. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was mine, and I loved the sense of independence. The first few nights were peaceful, but I quickly noticed an odd feeling every evening. When I'd sit on my couch, facing the open kitchen, I always felt like someone was watching me from the corner of the room. It wasn't anything obvious, just an uneasy sensation that made the hair on my neck stand up. One night I was up late, watching TV. The apartment was silent, and I was finally getting used to the place. Out of nowhere, I heard a faint creaking coming from the kitchen. My heart skipped a beat, but I brushed it off as the building's settling. A few minutes later, I heard it again, this time louder, like someone was shifting their weight on the old wooden floor. I froze, staring into the darkness of the kitchen, but I couldn't see anything. Convincing myself I was just being paranoid, I went back to my show. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my neighbor across the hall, whom I barely knew. The message simply read, "Are you okay? I heard something coming from your apartment." A chill ran down my spine. I hadn't made any noise that could have alerted her. I hesitated before replying. "I'm fine, just watching TV." She quickly responded, "Are you sure? I thought I saw someone standing in your kitchen through your window earlier." At this point, every nerve in my body was on high alert. I didn't want to believe her, but the feeling of being watched suddenly became unbearable. I decided to get up and check, armed with a flashlight. Slowly, I walked towards the kitchen, my heart pounding louder with each step. I reached the kitchen entrance and shone my light around, revealing nothing out of the ordinary. But as I turned to go back to the living room, I noticed something chilling, a faint, foggy handprint on the outside of my kitchen window. It was too high for anyone to reach without standing on something, and I lived on the second floor. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. Whoever, or whatever, had been outside my window must have been standing on the fire escape. The next day, I reported it to my building manager, who brushed it off, saying it was probably just a prank. But my neighbor confided in me that she'd seen a shadowy figure outside my window more than once before, and she had assumed it was someone I knew. I never felt truly alone in that apartment again. Every time I heard a creak or saw movement outside the window, I'd freeze, half expecting to see that foggy handprint return. To this day, I have no explanation for it. I eventually moved out, but I still catch myself looking over my shoulder whenever I'm in a quiet, empty room. I can't shake the feeling that someone, somewhere, is watching. Have you ever felt like you weren't really alone?